Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast, a podcast where hopefully we're not cursed by any killing toys or devices.
Hopefully.
I am Jeremy.
I am Andy, a.k.a. Uncle Chip.
Hey, nice pull.
Chip? Is that from the movie? Right? Uncle Chip, I think.
Now
that I said that, I'm like...
It's Uncle Chip.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are talking about the new horror comedy,
Yeah.
The Monkey.
Yeah.
This is Osgood Perkins' follow-up to Longlegs. It's a movie that was on both of our most anticipated of the year because we thought Longlegs was one of the good surprises of last year.
Absolutely.
Good original film, and we were just like, all right, let's see what this guy's going to do next.
Yeah.
So he made this movie, The Monkey. It's an adaptation from a Stephen King short story, I believe, which is always interesting to me because I don't read any Stephen King stuff.
Right.
I don't know short stories, and I'm just like, okay, I'm curious, how do you blow out a short story into a whole full movie?
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you wonder, like, now I almost want to go read the short story now and be like, so what was in the short story and what did he blow out in the movie? But essentially, the movie is the story of twin brothers, who a toy monkey, it looks like the kind of wind-up toy monkeys that you think of, that typical standard. The only difference is, and I learned this from the trivia, usually you think of the wind-up toy monkeys clanging cymbals.
It was like a copyright thing, wasn't it?
It was a copyright thing.
Yeah.
And so instead, he beat a drum, and you know what?
I thought that worked great.
I think throw that in the category of the shark didn't work in Jaws.
Exactly.
It turned out better for the movie.
It sounded great for some reason up on the screen, just the banging of that drum.
And when you do it kind of viciously with intention,
it was a great...
A drum's way more scary than a cymbal.
I agree.
Clanking,
It worked out great.
Worked out great. But anyways, the story is about these two brothers, and this monkey just kind of shows up in their life.
That's it.
It's clearly kind of a curse, demonic. I don't know. There's no explanation.
No.
But when you wind up this monkey,
It's
something bad happens to
someone
somebody.
to die.
Yes.
Right? That's what we're led to believe, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the movie.
That is the movie.
It is.
We'll go ahead and get right into it with our feelings about this movie. Andy, I loved this movie.
Dude.
I'm coming fresh off of it. I
You literally just left.
drove back from the theater.
Yeah.
I was like, what a great time at the movies.
Osgood Perkins may be my spirit animal. I just love how weird this dude is. And I was thinking when I was watching this, you go with Longlegs and then this, and it's like, I don't know. This is not based off anything because of anything I've seen Osgood Perkins do or say, but he almost just reminds me of like a kid, like you would, like as a teacher, like the kid who's at the school dance and is just dancing his heart out and could care less what anybody else thinks or if he looks good doing it or not. Like I feel like Osgood Perkins is just like, this is what I want to do and this is what I'm doing. I could care less if anyone thinks it's cool or funny or not. I think it's funny.
Yeah, he definitely has his own style, his own brand of what's interesting to him.
Yeah. And he just does goes for it.
And it's the sort of thing you can get away with when you're making a $10 million movie.
Yeah.
That said, nothing about this movie looks cheap.
Oh, his movies Longlegs was the same way.
I saw that it was $10 million budget, and I was like, like, I would have guessed just the way that budgets are so bloated these days that it was $40 million.
$50 million, yeah.
And,
it looks great.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
This movie, to me, I liked it more than Longlegs. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there.
Wow, okay.
And I think probably because I've talked about this before. I appreciate more the horror comedy. I thought this movie was hilarious.
It's essentially a comedy.
I had a pretty good crowd.
Like, it's more comedy than horror.
And it doesn't happen very often, but it happened multiple times throughout this movie where I laughed out loud, and I was the only person in the theater laughing, and I was like, I can't believe people aren't laughing. This is so funny.
There were so many funny things in this movie.
I want to point out, because you already mentioned Uncle Chip, and you've talked about Osgood Perkins, that it is Osgood Perkins playing Uncle Chip, which just kind of shows that this dude is not a guy who takes himself so seriously, but is just having a blast.
He is having a blast. I'm just going to go and tell you, the funniest thing in this movie to me is, so we won't get into spoilers yet, but there's this line where Osgood Perkins is like, he says this kind of like dark sentence, and he goes, also, we're swingers. And I just laughed so hard. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
My gosh.
But to me, the funniest line was just moments later when he's telling the kids they're going to kind of take him in, and that's as far spoiler as I'll get. And he's saying a little about like, we never planned on having kids. He drops the "we're swingers" line. He goes, "We're gonna try our best by you guys, but just know
we'll probably do.
Our best will probably be pretty bad." And I died laughing. Nobody else in the theater laughed. I thought that was one of the funniest lines I've ever heard.
You know, like we steal from the rewatchables a lot. It's like an all-time Dion Waiters performance from Osgood Perkins in this movie. He's got what, like 2 minutes of screen time?
Yeah, at most.
And it's just amazing. I'm like, dude, put yourself in more of your movies. Like, you're hilarious. He's got those sideburns. Like, it's an incredible 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes, absolutely. God.
We'll come back to it.
So, yeah, that was one of the many times I laughed. But, man, because this movie is so simple.
Yeah.
And I do want to talk about it a lot more. I feel like we've already got to get into spoiler warnings because...
Probably. And it's short. It's an hour and 38 minutes.
We already said we love it. We've said what the basic plot is. I don't know what else we can talk about without going like, okay, now we got to talk about
you're right, because we're
not
like downplaying how basic this plot is.
Yeah.
That is the plot of the movie. This monkey kills people. Mm-hmm. Or does, puts into motion the events that lead to their death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, spoiler warning, we're going to get into the details now. So, if you haven't seen it, I actually would encourage you, like I say, there's not a lot to spoil, but I want you to see these things for yourself, not hear us say the lines, see the moments.
It has to be seen.
See the movie and then watch or listen to us. But do come back and watch or listen to us.
Oh, absolutely.
So right from the beginning, great opening scene.
Dude, did you know Adam Scott was in this movie?
No idea.
I had no idea.
When he shows up, it's just kind of like awesome. Like Osgood Perkins has that sort of clout for him to just like pull great actors and be like, hey, just come be a like bit part in my movie.
Adam Scott's incredible.
That's a cool
3 minutes.
Yeah. It's just a great tone setter for the movie.
Oh, it's perfect.
I just also want to shout out, like, I know I just already said it's basically based on sort of everybody's cultural knowledge of a wind-up toy monkey, but it is a great little design of that
it
monkey.
Looks fantastic.
It's so menacing looking, and
they don't overcomplicate it.
Every time it was on screen, I was like, oh gosh, my voice. Every time it was on screen, I was like, this is just a great looking monkey for this movie.
It is. I bet you anything you'll start seeing it in TikToks and stuff. Yeah, I bet you will.
This movie has got. I guess maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I guess we can say big picture and then come back to this opening scene. This movie's got a lot of just like, they're having fun with the kills.
Oh my gosh. They're having a blast.
I love that it's a little Final Destination-y, but the thing that annoys me with Final Destination is Final Destination thinks like the build-up is like, they really draw out the build-up, like, oh, we're just going to keep teaching you along. I like that this movie's like, no, we're going to find these like creative, crafty, crazy ways to kill people.
And then it happens really quickly.
We're going to get to it.
Yeah. They don't. Yeah, you're right.
Not so much tease. Like,
because I will be honest with you. I saw the trailers and stuff, and I was like, is this just Osgood Perkins' version of Final Destination?
Yeah.
And the way you're exactly right. The way they sidestep that is they don't spend long periods of time showing like this is going to fall on this, which is going to knock this. They do it a little bit.
Yeah.
But
for the most part, like the first thing you see, like that could go wrong. It's like, yep, that's what's going to go wrong.
But then they add in like, since we're already in the spoilers, like so in the opening scene, it's in a pawn shop.
Yes.
And it shows the harpoon, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, that guy's going to get shot with a harpoon.
Yeah. Well, it does show several.
You're right. It does.
Things. It shows the knives and the.
But it feels like. Yeah. Like I keyed in immediately. I was like, harpoon's going through somebody's head. Yeah. But what you don't expect is that it goes through his stomach and then it retracts itself and drags his intestines with it.
Yes.
Which makes it sound like we're just gross and like. But it's like we talk all the time about how we don't like Saw.
Yeah.
And it's like this is not that at all. This is. You're in on the joke with them.
Yes. Well, and
that's the difference.
The difference with the Saw movies too is it's like they would make it real slow and they've got to show you how the person's just like screaming and writing. This guy's just like he gets hit and he's gonna like and then just it's ripped out.
And Adam Scott's just like
the joke's more of like, hey, there's this tube of stuff coming out of this guy's body.
It's insane.
It's wild.
Which also then leads to another moment that just made me crack up. Adam Scott just looks over and it's like flamethrower, $300, and he's like, aha! And then it cuts to Adam Scott just off the rails. Like Adam Scott had to have just been having a blast.
Yes.
And I don't even remember what his line. He's doing like the burn in hell, you blah, blah, blah. And he's just hamming it up, and he's torching this monkey with a flamethrower. And that is the opening scene of this movie.
And freeze frame and then some narration.
Oh, my gosh.
That is immediately kind of funny, too, because the guy's like, I don't know if everybody's dad passes down. Like,
but mine sure did.
But mine did. And it's like,
you know what?
I was at that point, I was like, this movie's got me.
That's what I was going to say. So that's what, 5 minutes probably?
I mean, yeah.
5 to 8 minutes, let's say. And I remember thinking, this movie's going to have to work really hard for me to turn against it.
Yeah.
After this opening scene. Because I am so, like, they grabbed me so well. Yeah. I'm ready.
Probably the surprise of the movie for me is how long we spend with the young version of the characters.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you see the previews, you know it's starring Theo James.
Yeah.
He's a guy that probably isn't quite a household name, but people who watch movies have seen him and know who he is. So you're like, okay, I'm going to watch Theo James star in this movie, and it's a good,
20, 30 minutes?
Minutes
That
or
would be
so
my guess, yeah.
before we see the Theo James version of these characters, because they star as children. I don't know, they are like 13 or something like that, probably thereabouts, these twin brothers. Does not paint a great picture of having a twin.
No,
I'll say
it's
that.
not.
These twins are like...
They hate each other.
Hate each other, yeah.
And it's, again, just because Osgood Perkins, I guess, is just so weird. Like, it's amazing how much humor he gets out of the one brother being mean to the other brother.
Yeah.
Like, it's just unbelievable.
But the thing I loved was... A lot of times these movies will have that like great opening scene that draws you in, and then it's like, but now
we gotta
that's to get you in, but now we've got like 20 minutes of backstory and stuff. It does not waste hardly any time.
Hardly any at
getting
all.
right back to the monkey.
Okay, so you have your Adam Scott scene, and then you start, and then probably 10 minutes later they've got the babysitter.
Yeah,
which is an incredibly dark and funny scene.
Yeah, and that's another like.
It maybe not even 10 minutes.
It's a great moment because you know it's coming, like something. And I was expecting the Final Destination of like
really going to draw this out.
And it's like, all in a moment, the dude just swings his knife, and then it's like, oh, he cut her. Oh, he chopped her head off.
And it's falling on the hibachi grill.
It's sizzling and, oh my goodness, yeah. He savors all the demented weirdness.
He does. And this movie is not interested at all in following any kind of logic as far as like, well, I don't think he could have cut her head clean off. The movie could care less. Yeah. So you can't even hold that against the movie. Because they're not going for like, well, realistically, here's what...
He went, this is absurd, and we're going to have
and we're leaning into it as far as we can, yeah.
So that babysitter dying.
Oh my gosh,
was so funny.
Which leads right to her funeral.
And that guy,
give that guy an Oscar.
That's another scene where I'm trying hard not to laugh out loud because the whole rest of the theater was silent. I'm like, how is nobody laughing?
Who did you go see this?
I don't know.
Who was in this theater?
The wrong crowd.
The wrong crowd.
And maybe they were enjoying it, but maybe they're all just like silent types. I don't know, but it was so funny.
I don't even know how to describe that preacher. Or what is he supposed to be?
Some kind of priest, because he's got the
priest. That's what word I was looking for. Yeah, and he walks up to the microphone and immediately drops the F-bomb.
He's like, like he doesn't, because he realizes like I got nothing here, and he just starts riffing, and everything he says is terrible.
Do you think that was written, or do you think that was improv by that guy?
I would say it felt incredibly improv, but just knowing Osgood Perkins,
it feels like he wrote it, or they at least workshopped it together.
He just everything he says is wrong, and when he's finally like, it is what it is. He's like, hey, that's something, yeah. Like it is what it is.
He's
like,
so proud of himself.
I landed on something, yeah.
And he literally says something about like her losing her head.
Yeah, he's like, make heads or tails of it. And he's like, well, not her head, because that's a different thing. And
it's like us describing it doesn't even do it justice. No. It's incredible.
Yes,
which is why I say like this is basically just a comedy that has gore in it.
It's a dark comedy.
Oh my gosh!
And that leads right into the scene of the mom talking to her boys and giving the worst parent like pep talk ever.
Your friends are dying. We're all gonna die.
Some of us will die. Yeah, some will die in our sleep. Others will die terrible deaths, tied up and duct tape over your mouth.
It's just incredible, and everyone is playing it so straight.
Yes,
like it's just incredible. Did you know who that was? The actress?
I didn't know, and I did look it up. She-Hulk.
Yeah. She's great in this movie.
Yeah, that's what I was like. She kind of looks familiar. She's doing a really good job, and I never watched
That's
She-Hulk,
all I
but
know her
obviously
from.
I saw a lot of promotional stuff for She-Hulk, so
Yeah.
I'd seen her. But
And then is it after the babysitter's funeral? It just cuts to the mom and the two twins just dancing.
yeah,
It's pretty close after it. And it's like, we just danced.
yeah.
Okay, awesome, just phenomenal.
I am shocked that I actually found the kid gets bullied at school scenes funny because it's
they
always so done like over and over again, and it's always terrible. And
But really, the key to this is it really doesn't show the bullying.
that's true. But I think also, boy, I'm probably getting a dangerous ground here. Bullying's not allowed to be funny in movies anymore. It's too serious of a topic, and this one's like, now it's funny.
The kid comes home covered in bananas.
They
There's
do that-
no way you
Well, they do
can't.
that whole spiel about like, your mom's wearing the pants now, but you have pants on. It seems like you have a pants situation here, and you know what's coming. And then
And the very next scene is just him walking in his house with no pants on.
yeah, and the mom's always trying to like talk to him, and he's always distressed, but the mom never like looks over and notices.
No.
My kid just came home with no pants on.
And that's also really funny too. He's just had this horrible day. He has no pants on. And he just walks downstairs and does answer. And she's like, "Oh, my day was good. Thanks for asking. It's really fun to just wait on you guys hand and foot." And it's like, dude, how is Osgood Perkins just killing the comedy right now?
He is. And I think that's the scene where the monkey's back in his room, and she asks, "Mom, did you put the monkey in my room?" And she replies with another great comedic line I'm not going to repeat here.
Yeah.
It was,
And it's amazing how he can balance. This kid literally comes home. I don't remember. Is the monkey in his room when he has no pants on or when he's covered in bananas?
I think with no pants on, but I think he comes in and like twist it once he's covered in
I think
bananas.
you're right. But it's amazing how it can go from this funny, ridiculous, and then it shows that monkey and like the scary music cue kind of hits, and you're like, "Ooh, that is kind of scary." Like, it's amazing how quickly he can. It is amazing how quickly he can flip, ridiculousness to like menace almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the sort of pivotal plot point is that after one of the bullying incidents, he knows a lot of the bullying's happening as a result of his twin brother, or, at least his twin brother is his least favorite person, and he connects.
Basically making his life
so
heck.
He's like, I know this monkey causes trouble, and maybe if I wind up the monkey and say, "Get my brother," it will get my brother. But he winds up the monkey, and it gets his mom.
Yeah.
And the brother walks in just in time to be traumatized and see the mom dying. And so these brothers who already didn't get along, this becomes the giant chasm between the two of them.
But that's when we get Uncle Chip.
That's when we get Uncle Chip at the there's like the mom's funeral, and it's, a serious scene.
That is played serious. And it's a really good scene from the kid actor. When he stands up and he's like, "Mom, wake up."
And I was curious. I knew Theo James was playing twins, but I was curious when I looked this up, is it going to be actual twin boys playing this or one boy playing both? And it's one boy playing both.
Really good job by that kid.
What we do get is a glimpse of Uncle Chip where they're sitting next to him, and you see it right away. You're like, who is this guy that they're sitting next to with the sideburns and everything? And then, of course, we get the Uncle Chip on the stairs giving the pep talk.
My favorite movie moment of the year so far is UncleIp sitting on the stairs with that. Was he with both of them or just one of them?
Just the one.
Just the one,
the main one with glasses.
It's incredible.
So good. Yeah. At that point, Uncle Chip meets an untimely demise after he gets his scene. We get one of the grossest but still somehow funny.
Oh my gosh.
Scenes.
So I would also just say, like, it's so funny. It's like, I don't remember what the dialogue. It was like the monkey went away for a while and then it was back. And then it just cuts to a picture of Uncle Chip's funeral. And it's like, even that was funny, the way it was done. And it's just this absurd picture of Uncle Chip.
Yeah.
He got trampled by like 70.
He's like, he died in a hunting accident, but it wasn't really a hunting accident. He just got trampled by all these horses.
And they give this ridiculous number. It's like 72 wild horses.
Yeah.
And they're like, the coroner said it looked like a blueberry pie smashed in the sleeping bag. And it's like,
and they unzip it. It's just mush.
It's so over the top. You can't take it seriously. And you almost have no choice but to laugh.
Yeah.
Because it's just so over the top.
Yeah. And they throw away the monkey down a well, and it cuts to 25 years later.
And then we get present day Theo James.
And once again, you think, okay, is this where we're going to have
A lull.
yeah, like some...
No.
And first off, you have a scene that maybe would be this backstory of he's got a kid. But how does Osgood Perkins perk up this scene? Puts Elijah Wood in it being...
Just off the rails.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I would love to have been in this meeting when he's like, hey, Elijah Wood, how would you like to play this, like... I don't even know how to, like a self-help almost type situation.
I think so.
And he's like, you have free pass to just be as over the top as you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Also, I guess the scene where Theo James first is at his work, I guess he works at like a grocery store or something, and he talks to his boss who's this young
that
guy.
sucks.
Yeah, he was just...
Every scene in this
So
movie
dumb.
hits it out of the park.
Yes.
And you're right. Like, I was like, okay, here's probably where we're going to get a lull. And then when they said that Theo James had a kid, the Theo James character, I was kind of like, uh-oh. Is that gonna kind of be an anchor around the rest of this movie?
Yeah.
Not at all.
It never is. He does such a good... This movie has such great pace.
It
It never bores you. There's never that moment where I'm like, okay, you know, when I rewatch this, maybe I'll hit the fast forward on 10 minutes. No, it doesn't have that.
No. Yeah, Elijah Wood is just on fire.
Yeah. And he only has the one scene, right? He doesn't show back up.
He never shows
like,
back up. It's the movie's firing on all cylinders when Elijah Wood can take a drink out of a huge jug, and it's funny.
And just the sound with
The
it.
sound, they crank that up to just be as obnoxious as possible, and it's like this movie is just killed. Like literally every joke is landing exactly like they want it to.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? He's like, Elijah Wood's like, I took away your powers. It's like, I didn't tell you could take away my power. Like.
You can't just do that.
You can't just do that. This is probably a good time to interject too. I thought Theo James was incredible in this movie.
Okay, yes, we should talk about this because
it's going to be hard to talk about the rest of the movie without.
Yeah, I've thought Theo James was good in things I've seen him before. He is a dude who has probably mostly been typecast in his career because he's kind of the big, chiseled jaw, like handsome guy, and he plays a lot of like little smarmy, like I'm full of myself, I know I'm real cool type guys. He's done that a lot.
Yeah.
And he's always good at it. And in this one, he's playing totally against that type.
Oh my gosh.
And crushing it. And it's
he
like,
kills it.
Theo James, you're getting to be an actor right now.
And you are
in
nailing
a really
it.
fun, you're getting to be like, you're kind of neurotic and nerdy and weird and hilarious.
And I just love how they made him so matter of fact. Like everything that happens, he's just like, okay.
Yes. It was tough for me. I'll say this. It was right for the movie. It's tough for me because I'm such a dialogue guy. And my favorite thing in movies are characters who will just express themselves. And he isn't, I'm not going to express anything about myself guy. Mm-hmm. He's playing someone who went through so much trauma. He won't talk.
Not only that, and he wants to keep himself isolated from people so that the monkey doesn't get them.
Right. And so there's moments where just my personal preference is his kids asking him questions. And I'm like, dude, just explain it. Just tell him there's a demon monkey. Of course, there's a good reason the character doesn't. You're going to sound like a psycho anyways.
Right.
But there's so many funny moments, like the kid saying, like, can I ask you a question? He's just like, no, I'd rather you didn't. Yeah. And it's just like...
It just works so good. That's why, like you're saying, like, go see this movie. Because us describing all this stuff does not do it justice.
It doesn't. But anyways, so... He's picking up his kid. We find out he's going to have a week with the kid, and it might be his last week ever with the kid. And he's planning on going and doing some adventure park with
roller
the
coasters.
Yeah.
And there is almost like a sadness to it though, because like the Theo James character, like he's not playing like the stereotypical like crap dad in movies. He's keeping this kid away.
Yeah.
Like he's sacrificing, like he's keeping this kid away because he's like, I'm cursed.
Yeah.
I don't want my kid around me. Like, so there's a little sadness to it.
But it doesn't swing the other way, too, where it's like, hey, he's secretly a great dad. It's like, he still doesn't know how to be a dad. I mean,
you're right.
He's signing the card, and he's like, literally all he puts in the card is, love, Hal. And he's like, that's a little wrong. Parentheses, dad.
And again, that's like, how is this funny? But it is. It's so funny.
But before they can even get going on their adventure, his brother gets back in contact with him. And there's been kind of a role reversal with the brothers over time because growing up, his older brother was, you could tell, like the more cool one. But he went off the edge, and now he's like this the shut in, the psycho like crazy one, and we get the hotel scene. This is the preview scene that made us think of Final Destination. And
my gosh,
it again incredible. Like doesn't waste time with the buildup, and then the over the top nature.
So that made me so happy because I was like, oh man, the preview does show like this lady dives off this pool and gets electrocuted. What you don't know is that the second she touches that water, she just explodes.
Like it's a bug zapper, and she just...
Oh, my gosh. Which led to another one of my favorite moments in the movie. So she explodes. Her foot goes flying at Theo James, and he goes, is that a foot?
It's like most of her leg, I think.
Yeah, it's
like,
more than a foot, I guess. And he literally, in the most serious voice, he's like, is that a foot? It's And then he just goes back into the hotel room to his kid, and he's like, hey, we gotta go. Like it's just incredible. It's so good. And again, that's what I mean when I say like they're not trying to follow any real life.
Like they weren't like this is physics. What happens when electricity hits a pool and you dive in? They're just like
let's just have her explode. It's incredible.
Yes,
it's incredible.
Yeah,
and it just works. It's the right choice for Theo James's character to be just so like, okay, like we should probably go now. Like he's not like freaking out and running around. He's just like, whoa, like it's really his reaction is almost always like a, not like
again.
Oh man, here we go again.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
So they have to cancel their father-son trip and they've got to go to his aunt's house because his aunt was sort of the first victim of this.
Yeah,
monkey.
we skipped that.
I guess we skipped that.
That's incredible too. That scene is.
Boy, yeah. Talk about again. The Final Destination thing is let me show you 3 things that could happen, and 3 of them are teases, and the 4th thing gets you. Osgood Perkins is like, hey, there's 3 things that can happen, and all 3 are going to happen.
All 3 of them are going to happen. Yeah, it's incredible. And again, like going to your thing of this is only a $10 million movie. This is a big spoiler, but when we're getting cheered on today, when her head catches on fire, that looks so real. Mm-hmm. Like I bet you anything that's a combination of some kind of practical effect and CGI. It looks so good.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then her running outside and right into that. I guess is it a for sale sign?
It's a for sale sign, and of course it has
freeze frames, right?
And it impales her. It's like, I'm sure it wouldn't actually do that, but
right.
I don't care. I'm so locked in at this point.
Yeah.
So she falls downstairs, lands face first, I guess like in a tackle box, and has fish hooks stuck in her face, uses rubbing alcohol, sticks her face on her burner, which lights her face on fire, and then impales herself on a for sale sign.
Yeah. Like
and
somehow her face.
And somehow it's funny.
Yes.
Like, what a feat they pulled off here.
Yeah. So he goes to the house. His son's trying to get him to know him a little better because they've been basically barely together, and he's told his son nothing. And son asks, "Do you have any siblings?" And he tells him no.
No. Yeah.
So they arrive at the house, and there's the like real estate lady there to like let him in,
and she's hilarious.
She is eccentric and over the top in the best way possible. But another one of the great lines, she's like, "Your brother." Is it Bill? Is that his brother?
Bill, yeah. Bill
your brother Bill. Like I'm talking about Bill, your brother.
And
your brother
just
Bill.
Keeps saying it.
Repeats it, and he is just like every time he's just like, why? Why are you doing this? And the son's like,
I love the choice of like having the Hal character, like you said, like everything is just like he's just so defeated by life, and everything that happens to him, he's just like, of course,
yeah,
of course. She'll say it 12 times,
yeah, and the son.
He did a great job too.
Yeah, like could have easily been an obnoxious character. It's a tough thing to write. Like you've got to be annoyed with your father, but you can't be like so
like
whiny that as an
kid
audience that we just get annoyed with you. And he chose the line perfectly. So the way he like sarcastically just talks back to the lady,
it's
like
so funny,
you know.
And then she's like, "So no business card."
Yeah,
it just works so well.
Yeah, and. Yeah, then she's the next victim.
Oh my gosh.
Every kill is so aggressively violent.
Oh my gosh.
Man. And I feel like probably because we love this, we're probably doing too much, just going beat by beat. I know
we're kind of going beat by beat, but we're excited.
It's so fun. So she dies, and at that point, I'm trying to remember what is kind of the next thing that goes at that point. We're almost to the point where it's getting close to the culmination.
We are, but I just want to throw out. I don't want to. You're right. We don't probably need to go beat by beat. So the real estate lady gets killed, and the coroners and everything, they're bringing her out, and for no reason at all, there's cheerleaders standing outside the house, and they start cheering when they go, "There's the body," and they start cheering for no reason. There's no context. You've not seen cheerleaders in this movie at all, and they just start cheering and applauding.
It maybe the most Stephen King thing about this movie is they apparently live in a town where nobody seems fazed by all the death happening. Because one thing we didn't mention is the real estate lady mentions, like, oh, a whole bunch of people have died this week.
It's like, oh, man, not a good week.
All in crazy ways. And you're just like, it seems to be unfazed. And so you almost get the idea that the people in this town are just like embracing, crazy things are happening. So, they heard another body. And so the cheerleaders show up and like, another body. And
it's incredible. That made me laugh also.
Yeah. That is a funny moment. Another funny moment is, she said the cop lady that I think is talking to him in the kitchen. She's like, you should stay at a hotel. You can't go away. She's like,
it's a mess.
I wouldn't stay here though. I don't know if you've been up there. And he's like, he's covered in blood. You don't know if he's been up there.
Right. It's amazing how well all the comedy works in this movie. And then, so I think what happens after that is we switch to Bill's point of view for a little bit.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And so basically what happens is you get some narration from Bill, the other twin. He is I don't even know how. He's figured out that Hal, wished death upon him, but instead the monkey killed his mother.
Yeah.
So we learned that he went down in the well and retrieved the monkey or tried to.
He had posed the question. They kind of both acknowledge, like, we recognize this monkey is something when you wind it, it kills people. And he knows, like, the monkey was in their house, and there's only the three of them, and the mom died, and he didn't wind up the monkey. Yeah. And if you wind up the monkey, it was his theory, if you wind up the monkey, you can't die. So it was like kind of process of elimination, like, my brother must have wound up the monkey, and as a result, my mom died. Yeah.
So that leads to our final conflict. And then at some point, we're introduced to this kind of third character who...
Yeah, this like skater guy.
It's kind of unclear almost.
It was unclear for a long time, but
it doesn't matter.
We get the throwaway line that Bill had hired him to help him find the monkey.
That's right.
And he had and brought it to him, but then for some reason he had some sort of weird emotional
because it reminded him
of
his dad somehow.
Yeah.
I don't even. It really doesn't even matter.
Also, a dead, like a absentee dad.
Yes.
Anyways.
Yeah. So I mean, we just
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It all culminates in this skater dude, Hal, and Hal's kid, Petey. Petey.
Yeah, I think so.
Going to where Bill is kind of like
his lair,
holed up, like his lair, and
and Bill's plan is he wants to make Hal make Petey be the person that keeps twisting the monkey, and he's like, he basically is blackmailing him, saying that's the only way you can keep Petey safe for sure is if he's the one that twists it, then he won't die. But if you keep making me twist it, you're putting him in danger.
Yeah,
and it's all a way to. Bill's trying to torture Hal, basically.
Yep. And you do get some, we don't have to go through it all, but you get some great back and forth between Bill and Hal.
Yeah.
Like just some great back and forth. Like that dry, just, they still hate each other. And it's like, at one point he has some unflattering names he calls his brother. Yeah. And he calls him that. And the Hal's like, really? Like now in the midst of all this, you're still insulting me? And that's just so funny.
Well, yeah, another funny line is the first time he makes contact with them and he calls him, his name, Doofus. We'll say it's not Doofus.
It's not Doofus.
It's Doofus, and he goes, Bill? And he goes, oh, come on, I can't be the only one that calls you that. It's just like...
so funny.
In
the midst of these people just dying these horribly violent deaths,
Yeah. So... Bill finally snaps when he sees Hal, and he's like, I'm tired. I've been trying forever. I waited for years to get the monkey so I could try to get my revenge on you. Now I've been whining the monkey, and he just keeps not selecting you, because that's sort of the thing that everybody has to figure out who has the monkey is the monkey does what it wants. Yeah. You can't make requests is the thing.
That's what they say. Yeah. He doesn't take requests.
So Bill gets frustrated and says, I'm tired of asking, just do it, and starts trying to force the monkey to beat his drum, and that's apparently the thing you do not want to do. And actually, we were warned about in the opening scene.
Yeah.
Adam Scott says that to the guy at the thrift shop. He's like, you don't want to try to move its hands.
Yeah. And don't call it a toy.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
And when Bill tries to force the monkey, he gets thrown off the monkey, who's surprisingly strong, as he says. And then the monkey beats his
a great
drum
looking scene
furiously.
Yes, that was great looking.
And it unleashes all kinds of chaos.
Oh my gosh, you see a plane crashing.
You like hear screaming out the window, and they just go look, and it's like the apocalypse is happening.
Yep.
And then you kind of get a touching brothers reconnecting moment.
Yeah,
like, in
the midst of this ridiculousness, they slow down for just a couple of minutes and have a nice back and forth.
Yeah. And it's, even though the dialogue is so dumb, like fitting to the movie.
Yes.
But like, I mean, just how being like, she's my mother too. And Bill just being like, huh. Yeah, I never really thought of it that way. That. Even though I guess we're brothers, and so that's the way it works.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's like ridiculous, but it just fits the tone, and you're just with it.
You're with it. Yes, it should go all wrong.
Like if you just printed the script and we just did a dry reading of it,
would sound
people
terrible.
would be like, "What is this movie?"
It would sound terrible.
Yeah, but it fit.
It fits so good. And again, kudos to Theo James for pulling both parts off.
Even the callback, because when we first meet young Hal and he's talking about his brother, he says he's the type of guy that offers you a handshake and then pulls back and slicks his hair back instead. And so at the end, he's like, they're connecting, and he offers him his hand, and he reaches and he goes, oh, and does that. And he's like, seriously? And then he reaches
and he does it again.
And the second time, I'm like, this, again, should be so dumb, but I am laughing so much at this.
At this point, it's like that gag. It's like something out of Family Guy.
Yeah.
Where it just keeps going, and you're like, I can't believe they're doing this.
I literally was thinking, like, are they going to do it a third time?
And I can't believe it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then the touching moment happens, and then the monkey goes, boop, one last hit, and
a cannon?
Basically, like, it's booby traps that Bill had set to, like, protect his place, and they all kind of, like, go off and shoot.
Yeah.
I think it's his mom's bowling ball.
Oh, that's right. It's a bowling ball. But it, like, doesn't it come out of, like, a cannon almost?
Yeah. It, like, drops from a box, like, into a cannon that falls down and shoots the bowling ball.
Which is a callback to earlier when they were kids. He envisions smashing his head with that bowling ball.
Yeah.
And again, so over the top violent, where this dude's face is just splatted all over this wall.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, oh, like how does, like, he's probably sad, but he doesn't like break down crying or anything. It's just like,
it's like when you've seen that many grisly deaths right
just
in front
another
of you,
one.
it's like, okay.
And we skipped it, but I will say real quickly, there's this amazing over-the-top death with a hornet's nest.
Yes, the skater.
Which we don't have to dwell on it because we've gone in so many beats. But again, like, so you're like, you see what's going to happen. These hornets are going to come out. A trillion hornets come out.
Well, yeah, because you think, oh, hornets are going to come through there and sting him to death. They don't even sting him to death.
They just fly right into his mouth, and his face basically just collapses.
Yeah, I guess presumably are just stinging or burrowing through his face.
It's so over the top, and it works.
Yeah.
It just works.
So the detail, I should say this, I think the thing that makes horror violence like this like not feel so egregious is they never focus on the victim's pain.
No,
and that's what
it's all over
hate
so
in those
quick.
Other movies. It's like,
oh my gosh,
we want you to feel viscerally like how torturous this is. And this one, it's like, there's no focus on the pain. We said it. Even when the guy gets harpooned and his intestines fly out, he's almost just like standing there just in shock. The lady
it's not like
the pool,
screams of agony.
Yeah, you don't get all that, and so you're just it makes it more digestible. I guess
it does.
You could say.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. It's very satisfying, I guess a morbid way that the whole movie, you get the dynamic his son and him have, and how he just can't explain things to his son because it's not gonna make any sense, and the son's just annoyed with him. And maybe this is morbid of me as a movie watcher, but you're kind of happy that his son had to sit there and witness all of it because you're like, his son gets his dad now.
Yeah.
His son's sitting there and he's like, I get it now.
Yeah.
And you are happy to see this father and son finally be able to connect with this mutual understanding of why everything's been the way it's been in their life.
Yeah. It's it's just incredible that this movie works like it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get this great moment at the end. They're just driving off together. Everything's a disaster. Like, and again, this is how you know, like, Osgood Perkins just has this twisted sense of humor, and they're not taking this too seriously. There is a guy impaled through a surfboard, has impaled him into a tree. You're like, how or why in the world would this guy have a surfboard in Maine?
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It's not even trying to take itself seriously.
And then the level of darkness to his humor, and I see this and I think this is freedom to not have studio interference. You see the lady pushing the baby carriage that's on fire, and you're like, studios don't do babies on fire. But Osgood Perkins is like, I'm putting a baby on fire, and you're not going to see the baby, but you're seeing the baby carriage being pushed, and the mother screaming and running.
Oh my gosh, it's so like, dark. But
was that a baby on fire?
I know, it's so. But at this point, you're so locked into this movie. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and then so many. I mean, we love movies with good callbacks, and it ends with sort of the great callback of like, what do we do now? And Hal just for the first time looking like kind of confident and almost a little happy. He's like, we should dance.
I know.
Like, we should do what my mom said
after
that
just
funeral.
go dancing.
And the son's like with our bodies. That's a great response.
It's a great response.
And he's like, yeah. And yeah, they drive off, and we get that one last great.
Just one last mic drop moment.
Yeah.
The call back to the cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
No.
I won't even spoil the gag. Go watch the movie.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And then movie over, ending credits, playing like an upbeat, like 60s song. I don't even remember what it is, but he did the same thing with Longlegs.
Yeah.
That song ended with the song Bang a Gong. And it's just like, my gosh. Like that movie ended, and I just almost wanted to stand up and applaud and be like, Osgood Perkins, you are awesome. You are so weird and so dark, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Man.
What a ride. It's such a ride.
It is a ride. Let me ask you this. Do you think that Osgood Perkins is the type of person that would make The Monkey 2? Because it's in a world where it'd be very easy to continue the story.
Easy.
I don't know that I would want it just because it's such a perfect one-offer. But I was thinking that, like, as it ended, I was like,
I would watch more of this.
I was like, well, they just left it wide open. Like,
because even the kid asked, he's like, what are we going to do with the monkey? And he's like, we're going to keep it close.
Yeah, like exactly. The only way to like know it's not out there causing chaos is to keep it by you.
Part of me wants to, like my initial reaction is to say no, he wouldn't. But sometimes when people are so eccentric like he is, obviously, that they can almost pull that stuff off.
Yeah.
Because you know that they're like, yeah, I know that sequels suck, so that makes people want to do one even more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like he almost kind of gives off that vibe.
Yeah. And the thing of it is it's a movie that, I mean, like, I can just picture it very easily making a sequel because it is a movie that's not taking itself serious, that is absurd from the beginning. It's kind of like you don't worry, what if the second one's silly and it kind of ruins the legacy of the first? Like, no, like tonally it'd be very easy to just stay right in line.
Keep doing this
with the first.
Yeah.
My biggest fear would be
somebody
else making the sequel.
And you know what someone else would want to do? They would want to give backstory to why this monkey.
Yeah.
And that I think that is one of the best parts of this movie. Zero explanation.
Yes.
None. Zero. All you know is that the dad was a pilot who traveled the world and he bought it. Did they even say where?
No. They just said he buys stuff everywhere he goes, but they never said where the monkey was from.
No. You get zero explanation for why this monkey does what it does, and that works so well in this movie.
Yeah, that you're right.
It's a great choice.
I was thinking about that on the drive over here, but I was like, I got to talk about how, the decision to do less information is the perfect decision.
It's the perfect decision.
Yeah. Man, we said it just, a couple weeks ago that Companion was an early front runner for movie of the year, and I did not expect it to have competition so quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know which one I like better, because they're both great. But it's just great that we had two great movies already.
So great. And like, yes, this is based off a short story, but it still has so much originality to it. Mm-hmm. And I'm so happy that between Companion and the Monkey, we have these just weird, off the wall but original, and just like I always say, like I want my movies to be alive and not just be dull. Like, well, here's the rules we have to follow, and A leads to B and B leads to C, and like these movies, both of them just feel like they are playing by their own rules, and I'm here for it, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a really good time. Probably not much left meat on the bones to talk about because we just had such a good time going through.
Oh my gosh, we were both so happy.
Such a good movie.
Did you stay till the end of the credits?
I didn't.
Preview for Osgood Perkins' next movie.
Oh, is that what they did?
They did.
I did.
It's called, I think, The Keeper, and it shows you nothing.
Okay.
Like, it's an awesome teaser, and it's like, this guy is so weird and already has, it seems like he's got like enough stroke that he's like, hey, at the end, the very end of the credits for The Monkey, I want a teaser for my next movie.
Yeah.
And they did it.
Well, I knew from listening to his interview on the Big Picture podcast, he had said like when they were talking about Longlegs, he's like, I've basically got my next 3 movies lined up, or like a couple of them in the can already.
Seems like and, boom, boom, boom.
And which is, again, amazing because you think like, oh, this guy's getting a lot of these movies because Longlegs was a huge success, so now he's getting them. But apparently he already had these things going on. Yeah, he's cranking them out.
He is. I mean, Longlegs just came out in July.
Yeah.
This is only February.
Yeah.
It's a really quick turnaround for another movie.
So to have a second one out and then a third one already.
And at the end it just says soon.
Yeah.
That's all it says. And it's like, well, I'll be there.
Yeah.
After these two, after Longlegs and The Monkey, I'll be there.
Yeah. I'm going to say this. Jordan Peele, I love you. I love your movies. Take note.
Take notes.
You can get them out a little faster.
A little bit quicker, buddy. Yeah. Yeah. What a treat, and what a great thing to have Osgood Perkins now just part of our life.
Yeah.
Like before Longlegs came out, didn't know anything about this guy.
Nope.
And now I'm like, I'll go see anything he brings out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did want to spend a little bit of time. 2 weeks ago, we were supposed to have a podcast. I was sick. We didn't get to have it. I didn't even get to see the movie. We were supposed to talk about the movie Hard Eyes.
I'd love to talk about Hard Eyes.
I knew you wanted to talk about it. I went and saw it. I had one night off this week, Wednesday, and I was like, I'm going to go see Hard Eyes so that Sunday I can go see The Monkey and we can talk about both movies on the podcast. So, Andy, I'm just going to throw it right to you. Tell me about Hard Eyes.
I loved Hard Eyes. It is ridiculous. We compare movies to food a lot of times on here. It is just eating candy. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. It doesn't have a message. It doesn't try and say anything about the world. It is just there to entertain you. And I was so entertained with Hard Eyes. I had a blast. And I want to see Mason Gooding and Olivia Holt, I think is her name, the 2 leads.
Yeah.
I want to see them do like 12 more movies together. It's basically a rom-com.
Yeah.
Just with a serial killer in it. And it was, I had a blast.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It doesn't take itself seriously at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't try that hard to be anything more than what it is. And I thought it did a great job.
It is another movie with a just great opening scene that just sets the stage for like, this is the movie you're seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, could they have done an any better job depicting a couple that you want to hate than that couple?
They nailed that.
Oh my God. And I was like, I love what they're doing. They're just going like, everyone's going to watch this and go, okay, I'm ready to watch these people get murdered.
These people are terrible.
Yeah.
But they kind of actually feel like people that would live in the world today.
Yeah.
And do this so they're doing he's proposing, but she knows it, and they're filming it, and they're trying to make it look, I guess it has a little commentary about social media and how we try and use social media to make it look like we have the perfect lives. But it doesn't go too long, and then all of a sudden they're just getting slaughtered. It's got this great shot. They're like in a vineyard, right? And this girl is running, and it's got an amazing shot of her like coming over this hill as she's being chased by the Hard Eyes killer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it just turns into like a rom-com.
Yeah. So I had 2 thoughts while watching this movie. The first thought was, man, I kind of wish the whole movie would just do what it just did. Like, let's just follow the Hard Eyes killer and just watch him
kill really unlikable people.
And I was like, I don't want to waste too much time watching like the backstory people we talked about. And then it's like you said, it's basically a rom-com. The big shock of the movie to me is that I actually really enjoyed the rom-com part of it.
They were so good together.
I didn't expect Hard Eyes which is simultaneously making fun of
Rom-coms.
to actually be itself a good, likable
Rom-com.
rom-com.
It's incredible.
It's an incredible feat to pull off.
It really is. Like, it was so charming and so good, and they were so charming together. And it all takes place, I mean, after this opening scene, it all takes place in like one day, like 24 hours, basically.
Yeah.
It was such a contained story. And then by the time you get to the third act, it is so ridiculous. I'm not sure it makes any sense at all. I mean, we can spoil, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been so long in a spoiler warning for the monkey, but spoiler warning for Hard Eyes if you haven't seen that.
There's 3 killers.
Yeah.
Their motives make no sense at all.
Yeah.
And it ends in just this over-the-top violent. The killers are never a threat, really, to the couple.
Yeah.
You're never worried for a second that they're not going to defeat these killers. But that's not the point of the movie.
Yeah.
The point of the movie is just their chemistry together.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. And it did the thing I've always wanted a horror movie to do. The first killer reveals himself, and the girl's like, "Who are you?" Yeah. And I was like, yes, because it's a character that you met briefly earlier in the movie.
That, as an audience member, you're going, "Oh, it's that guy," but she only briefly interacted.
I thought
with
that
him.
was so funny, and my hat is off to the movie for doing that.
Yeah,
and she's like, "Who are you?"
And the way he's offended, he's like,
so
seriously,
offended.
like from the thing,
from the thing, and then she's like, "I don't."
Yeah,
and he's like, I think he even says his name, and she's still like, "I don't." It's so funny.
Yeah,
it's so good.
So yeah, it is an off the rails third act. It is the weakest part of the movie
by far.
But
they don't waste a lot of time.
Yeah, but it's kind of the problem with a lot of movies, kind of its ilk, is it's really hard to wrap up these.
It's hard to wrap them up
in a satisfying way. I rewatched not too long ago Annabelle, the vampire ballerina.
Oh, Abigail?
Movie. Abigail, sorry, not Annabelle, Abigail. And I'm like, it's kind of the same thing. Like
the build up is always
really
better.
hard to pay off, and they kind of just go off the rails for a while, and so yeah, it's a common problem in these movies. It's not enough to make me be like, so the movie's not good, because the ending doesn't matter. It is, as you said, the journey along the way. Because the best parts of the movie are, you've got to eventually find out who the Hard Eyes killer is, but the best parts are when you don't know and he's just a masked menace.
It's great. It's a cool mask.
It's a great exactly design and
they,
premise of someone who's kills couples. The joke that they had to keep saying, "We're not even a couple,"
that is
so funny.
It's so funny, and you hope along the way that they just come up with some pretty cool things you haven't seen before. So there's a point in the movie where they think Mason Gooding is the killer, the Mason Gooding character, and he's locked up in the interrogation room, and the Hard Eyes killer comes in there, and they're chasing each other around the table because he's handcuffed to the table or a chair or something. And it's like, this is so funny. It's almost like slapstick, but it's taking itself kind of serious. I don't know. It just worked. It worked.
With that whole plot line where it's they thought he was the killer and stuff, I was like, man, this is really reminiscent of Scream.
It's a Scream ripoff.
Where I was like, are they gonna do the Scream thing where it seems so obvious that he's the killer, that the twist is he's the killer, because you're gonna go well, no way, because they're really leaning into it, and then it actually it's weird. It was seemed so obvious that it made me think, so they aren't going to do it because it would be too Scream, or I don't know, you know what I mean?
It was so satisfying too that it wasn't so the couple, or the not couple, they kill the bad guys and that's it. Mm-hmm. It's not but we got one last, they get one last phone call, and it's no, they just win because they're so likable together. That's what you want. Mm-hmm. And I got to say too, there was a gag that cracked me up so much. The female character, she's like, blood makes me throw up.
Oh yeah.
And then so they kill, at the time you don't know there's 3 Hard Eyes killers. They kill the first one at the drive-thru, and she just throws up all over his body, and they just run with it. It is a ridiculous amount of throw up, and it just made me laugh. It worked.
Yeah.
And kudos to them. They are all in. The 2 leads, I mean, they're all in. There's a scene where, I'll be careful here, at their apartment, she opens her closet and the Hard Eyes killer is just standing in there, which is ridiculous. There is an object we'll just say that she has in her room, and she throws it at the Hard Eyes Killer. And it is such low-hanging fruit for comedy. But because they are just all in, it worked. Mm-hmm. It made me laugh. Did it make you you laugh?
Yeah.
And it's, like I said, it's low-hanging fruit. Like, it is not original. It's crude. The joke is crude, but it worked. Man, it was funny.
Yeah. But you're 100% right about, like, the two co-leads have such good chemistry together. They both do a good job. I had never seen her before anything. Of course, I'd seen him in the newer Scream movies.
She was on a Disney show that my kids used to watch when they were little called Kickin' It. Oh. Mm-hmm. And so I actually had a little bit of a history with her. And it was one of those things, like Zendaya was also on a Disney show my kids used to watch. And I'm not saying she's at the level of Zendaya, but you would watch that show. It's called Kickin' It. And it would be like, okay, she's funny. Yeah. So, like, I wasn't surprised. Like, I was pleasantly surprised, I guess. But it's like, it made sense to me that she could pull this off because she used to be funny and had a lot of charisma and stuff in this show.
You know, she reminded me of someone. She was giving me Julia Stiles vibes.
Yeah.
I was like, she's a little bit about her face, but just kind of the personality and the vibes. Like, just give me, when we talked about how much we like Julia Stiles and we did the 10 Things I Hate About You, we watch how, like, why was she not a bigger star? And,
right.
Like,
I hope the same thing doesn't happen to her.
Yeah.
Because she was great in this movie.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, it was a blast. It's been a really fun movie year so far.
Yeah.
Where, like, I'm not watching these, like, movies that are meant to change the world. I'm just watching movies that are good and having a good time watching them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fun thing to get to say in February.
It is.
That we've already had a bunch of movies that we've really enjoyed.
Companion, Hard Eyes, Wolfman, Monkey, like all movies that I really, really enjoyed. And I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, I guess there's also a little bit of a common theme through those. They're all sort of in the broader horror genre.
Yeah. I said last year a bunch, like I thought it was a great year for horror. I wanted that to continue, and so far it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a blast with Hard Eyes.
Yeah, I'm glad. That's a movie, like, from the moment I saw the trailer, I thought, that's an Andy movie. I hope it does,
Yeah, it was
work out for him.
It did work out. It was really good. I don't even know if good's the right word. I don't know if it was good or not. It doesn't matter. It was fun. That's what it was. It was fun.
You talked a little bit last week about its box office boost in weekend number 2. Do you know anything about how it's done?
So it kind of came back down to earth. Like, people went to see it for the Valentine's weekend, but that boost, helped it a ton. So it's not going to be some kind of runaway hit, but I think it's going to, just be a nice little sleeper of a movie. And I can imagine it being the type of movie that, like, will do well when it hits a streamer.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I think it would have been like it would have sold a lot of DVDs, I think.
Yeah, it's one that I definitely think will get a sequel.
I hope so.
It lends itself
and I hope it's those two.
Yeah. I mean, we could just every couple of Valentine's Days be like, and the Valentine's Day Killer is back. Yeah.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Because I had a lot of fun watching this movie.
Yeah. Well, this was a lot of fun.
It was a ton of fun. We were so excited.
So excited. We've also got to get you out of here, Andy, because you're about to go do something exciting yourself.
I am so excited. I'm getting ready to leave here, and I'm going to go watch Goodfellas in the theater, which is just checking another thing off my bucket list.
Yeah, going to see it with your son, Ryan.
He's going to go see it. He's never seen it.
Yeah.
So I also have that excitement. Like, it's going to be hard for me to not watch him watch the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so excited. I've sang its praises before, but Flashback Cinema has just delivered over the course of us doing this podcast. I mean, I've seen The Godfather and Jaws and Raiders of the Lost Ark and Alien and The Exorcist and now Goodfellas. So I'm so happy.
Yeah, you've had a good run with this. I'm looking forward to hearing next week your report of what the experience was like in the theater and what Ryan thought of it.
Because, I can't wait.
I mean, it's hard to believe that movie's twice as old as he is about.
That's 35 years old.
So it is literally twice as old as he is.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I'm really excited to be able to take him and to watch this on the big screen.
Yeah. So next week, I hadn't talked to you about this.
But, I'm game for whatever you come up with, boss.
On top of maybe we'll see something new, but because the Oscars are coming up, last year the Oscars happened, we did like an Oscars reaction type thing, and we might still do some of that. But you mentioned we really didn't love the nominations and what's happening this year. You're like, we should just come up with our own awards. I was like, Andy, you know what? That's a great idea. We should do that. So next week, I think we should talk through
What
if we
nominate.
had our own award show.
Yes.
What are our nominees going to be for those? Acting performance. We'll kind of do the main categories and come up with what we would pick.
I'm here for it.
Awesome.
I can't wait.
Awesome. We can't wait, but we have to wait. You got to wait. Thank you so much for joining us.
Go see The Monkey
this week. Go see The Monkey.
Go see Companion. Go see Hard Eyes.
Yeah.
There's some fun movies right now.
Absolutely.
Go see 'em.
And then we'll see you guys
See you next week.
Next week.